Hi everyone. Welcome to the Newhotel and Beonprice webinar dedicated to revenue and pricing strategies, planning for success. My name is Carla, and today I have with me my colleagues from Newhotel, Filipe Figueiras, International Business Director, Rita Rosa, CEO from Newhotel Portugal, and from Beonprice we have Neville Isaac, Chief Customer Officer from Beonprice. So we will start discussing our team regarding revenue and price strategies that you can implement or that you can look at and see if they are suitable for your case. Our agenda, we are going to start with what's happening now, what are our current challenges, how the data collection in the PMS can help you, and Neville is going to talk about pricing, inventory, and distribution management. And then we'll all chat a little bit in the end about what we can do in the future and give you some suggestions and some tips. As usual, there is a Q&A moment in the end. While we are doing our presentations, please leave your questions in the Q&A box. We are pleased to answer them. So, Rita.
Hello, everyone. The time is what's happening right now. So I think revenue management will be a very critical aspect of this recovery. We need to go fast and to be more flexible to adjust to these new conditions. Newhotel and Beonprice today will discuss a few techniques, tips, and tools for improving your hotel market position in this recovery period. Hotels' steps for reopening. Restaurants will reopening soon, and we will fly safely. Tourism will restart, and we will prepare a new return now. Regarding the stabilization of the coronavirus contagion curves, it invites to optimism and reflection on the return to a new normality. In this sense, for example, in the case of Portuguese market, the tourism of Portugal looked for new formulas that help to seduce Portuguese tourists who, according to the forecasts, will prioritize Portugal holidays and recover part of the foreign British tourists that, according to Global Index, are already looking for a new date before the cancellation of their holiday. So we should maintain communication with our customers, showing total empathy during this situation. It will be vital to retain and maintain customer loyalty. Flexibility is the point. Safety and cleaning will be a priority for the guest experience. As well, the main tourist destinations in some countries, they agree to offer pre-sales packages with guarantee the cancellation and full return of the money. Data collection in your PMS. This is what we will talk about. Why is the PMS the gold mine? All the guest data is stored here. All guest preferences, consumptions, behaviors. You just need to collect the right modules to analyze data on real time to take better decisions. Newhotel solutions on premises or cloud solutions both have more than 400 integrations, and they are available for your requests. The most complete PMS solutions, the hotelier can go further to achieve their goals. And that's why that is very important, an all-in-one solution, fully integrated, as we have now with the RMS, the revenue management system of Beonprice, that is our partner for this webinar today. So this is not only about recognizing the needs of each guest during their stay. The hotel PMS data collections is fully integrated with hotel website or booking data or meta search channel managers and rate shoppers. So we should work daily on this information to promote direct sales from our website and to check rate shopper to see what our competitors are doing in each moment. Hotels should use this data to understand their needs before guests arrive and after they are gone. With this insight at their disposals, hotel can be and can take decisions on how to manage business operations. Embrace touchless strategies, contactless, mobile apps. This will help to track more guest data, which is the information that you can trust, inputted directly by the guests that go straight to your PMS. For example, our BI module and our CRM modules can be very helpful today to send marketing, email marketing campaigns, campaign management, surveys and feedback, and to track your leads. As the revenue management solutions can be connected in real time with your PMS, and with that, you can be more profitable.
What's next one?
So, easy automatic data in our PMS. We have a large amount of data every day. So we have nationality, dates and times, arrivals and departures, channels used, PMS guest profile, requirements and preferences, opinions and behaviors, and guest qualification, also very important, and integrations with specialized partners application. This all will improve in terms of guest service. We need to find different ways to increase your hotel revenue and even help you to reduce costs. Here are a few examples of information that can be stored in the PMS. Mobile apps will improve guest service as well, as they allow hotels to rethink about new digital procedures. Reducing human contact and waiting time has long queues in the front office. All the information will be real-time connected. And now I will pass my words to Neville from Beonprice.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita. Very interesting. What I'm going to talk a little bit about over the next few minutes is things that you should be doing to ensure that you prepare your hotel and that you are ready to take advantage as the demand starts to come back in your destinations. I'm not going to offer any opinion on when that demand is going to come back. I'm just going to say the things that I think you need to do to get ready. Some of this advice I would give to hotels anytime, crisis or no crisis, but these are things that hotels perhaps haven't been concentrating on always, and now is the time. And a lot of this has to do with data, which is what Rita was mentioning. Revenue management need data to make decisions. So your data needs to be clean, and I'll talk a bit about that. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about pricing management. So the first rule or the first suggestion that I have, don't drop your rates. It's very common in the marketplace when demand goes down to put your prices down. Sadly, this happens almost every time we have some crisis. the philosophy here would be, if I put my prices down, I'm going to get more volume. So I'm going to sell more because I'm going to put my price down. This only works if your competitors don't put their price down as well. So if you put your price down to get more volume, then your competitors put their price down as well. All of you are going to sell the same amount of volume at a lower price. And this has a huge impact on the profitability of your hotel. So this is one thing to bear in mind. Another thing to bear in mind is probably the cost of running your hotel is going to be increased. There's a lot of protocols now about cleaning and sanitation, and you may have to spend a lot more money on communication and marketing. So does it really make sense to put your prices down at this time? And lastly, I would say that you need to ask yourself the question, is the customer actually price sensitive, or are they more concerned about your property being trustworthy, somewhere that they would trust, that the protocols are in place to be as safe as possible? This is likely to be more important in the decision-making process than simply the price. So I would suggest that before you consider price changes, you look at all these things and think about the impact they might have. So having said that, bearing in mind we have to be careful about pricing and the impact on profitability, there is a lot of things that we can do. And this is the perfect time to do it, when perhaps we have a little more time because the hotels are either closed or still very quiet. I would strongly recommend reviewing rate structure, cleaning up your unused rates. If you don't need them, don't use them, then you can disable them in your PMS so you don't have to see them. Then consider if you need any new rate plans to reach segments that you perhaps think have potential for you. If your rate structure and your pricing structure is based on a floating, flexible rate with other rates linked to this, then you should check which discounts you're offering and whether they make sense. If you're working in a chain and you haven't done it already, you should try and homogenize the basic structure. This makes operations and distribution a lot easier. And when you get to the end of this process, and this is very important, ask yourself a question: is your rate structure understandable to customers? Many times I've seen hotels offering 5 or 6 different rates with a price difference between all 5 of them of less than 10, 15 euros. And it's hard to understand what they are for. So you need to think about this when you're thinking about your rate structure. And lastly, are you offering the right product to the right customers? And are the customers confident they're paying the best rate for their needs? This is very important also. You should try to be customer-centric in terms of pricing and rates, and think about the customer, not just about the hotel's needs. You need to have both of these things in mind in terms of rates. Also, still on the subject of pricing, don't forget the mid and long term. It could be that people who decide not to travel in 2020 might already start to think about 2021. And there have been some studies issued by various consultancy firms that suggest this is the case. So don't ignore the mid and long term. Public rates, you should review them for at least 1 year to 18 months in the future. And you need to consider that you might have pickup when you normally would not have had pickup so far in advance. So you need to keep on top of these dates and make sure that you have a pricing strategy, at least an initial pricing strategy loaded as far in advance as you can. And if you think there are still going to be some high demand dates next year, in 2020, I don't think there's going to be any. You should plan what strategy you're going to use for these dates right now. Now is the time to do this. And then think about something, this is a subject that has been discussed recently, ethical pricing. I actually prefer to call this fair pricing. And what I mean by this is that fair pricing is the equilibrium between your company success and your client satisfaction. What I mean by that is that you need to adapt the real value of your product according to the customer's perception of your quality. I always give an example here, and there may be a situation where mathematically you do a calculation and you have high demand and you realize that you could charge 1,000 euros for a specific date. Imagine there's a concert or a football game or something like that. When normally you would charge 200, 300 in high demand. Is it worth charging this 1,000 euros? You're going to maximize your income for one night, but the impact it has on your brand identity could be strong, and the likelihood of those customers repeating is low. And one of the big issues we have in our industry is the cost of acquisition of new customers. So think about pricing in a fair way and in a long-term way, and not just in the maximizing the nightly profit, because I think that's something that more and more is going to be something that customers are not going to see very, very positively in the future. And as I say, I talked about this before, but think about the relationship between quality and price. What are clients going to consider now about your hotel? It's fairly sure, and Rita showed at the beginning that there's already now some certifications about sanitary measures that you can take. You need to make sure you communicate these, because probably this is one of the things that people will consider when choosing your hotel, and this could have an impact on the price you're able to charge. So you should be aware of this relationship between the quality of your establishment and the price, and part of the quality from now on will be the sanitary measures that you're communicating. Okay, so that was pricing. I want to talk a little bit about inventory and distribution management as well. This is another aspect of revenue management, which is going to be key from now on. So you've thought about your pricing. You've decided not to go into a price war with your competitors because nobody wins. You've reviewed your rate structure. You've cleaned it up. You've got the right products for the right people. Then you have to think, what about my room types? Many hotels set up their room types once they open for the first time and then don't think about it again. You should have a look at this. Are your room types organized in an efficient way? Maybe you can merge some room types. Maybe you can create some new ones. The way you can do this is reviewing your historical sales data and evaluating the production per type of room. Those that have very low production, you would have to understand why. Then you should look and see what people are saying about your room types online. There's plenty of data out there that you can access in TripAdvisor and Booking.com, Holiday Check if their customers coming from Germany, for example. This should enable you to create a logical structure which enables you to extract value from your room types. And then there's something, this is a recent tendency and something that should be borne in mind. Think about attributes and price supplements. One of the trends in revenue management right now is called attribute-based pricing, whereby you take your basic room and you add on price according to the attributes in this room. So you add on an additional supplement for sea view. You could potentially have a supplement for the bed type, the floor it's on, how far away from the elevator it is. All of these things are things that enable you to extract higher ADR, higher price for your rooms. But you have to structure this correctly in order to do so. And again, for hotel chains, standardize this. It's much easier if you standardize this from a distribution perspective and an internal procedures perspective as well. You've done that, so you've reviewed your rate structure, you've reviewed your room structure. Then you need to think about the other configuration for your product. So what meal plans do I have available? Are they the correct ones that I need? My cancellation policies. There's been a lot of discussion in this crisis period about having totally flexible cancellation policies. You need to make sure you have these options available to you, and perhaps the options that you have currently in your PMS are not suitable. You might need to create more. So this is the perfect time to review all this. And value adds, other things that you add into your room type that increase the value of this room. This could be access to spa, you could be creating packages that include food and beverage. All of these things need to be reviewed and correctly set up so that you can sell the correct product at the right time. Then in terms of channels, Rita mentioned this at the beginning. I think this is the perfect opportunity to focus more on direct channel sales. What has happened in the last few months is that many people's experience when booking through an OTA has been quite negative in terms of trying to manage getting refunds or trying to get to speak to a customer service person. And so this is an opportunity for hotels to show that we can do it better on our own channels. We can be more personal, we can be more flexible, and we can respond more quickly via our own channels. So this is an opportunity to try and create some customer loyalty, booking through directly rather than through a third party. You should consider in your pricing putting value adds on for web bookings. This could be something as simple as a late checkout or some other attribute which is not breaking rate parity. You can use digital discount coupons, so you can have the functionality for people to put codes in your website to get a special price. Obviously, this work needs to be done between revenue management and marketing and e-commerce, because you need to work on optimizing and marketing for your web. And you need to make sure, and this sounds really simple, but the amount of people I've seen where this isn't the case, your booking engine works properly, and that the sales process is easy to understand and easy to use. And this is a perfect opportunity to increase direct sales. And we've been talking about this for years. And those who have not done this yet, this is the time. Okay, a little bit about segmentation as well. These are the areas that we think are most important for hotels to be looking at right now. Review your segments. How do you do this? You need to look at data. Which segments are the most profitable? In order to understand this, you need all the KPIs for each segment. So how many room nights are they producing? What's the price? What revenues are they generating? What RevPAR? What's the breakfast capture rate, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of metrics you can look at. The more, the better for you to understand better the performance of each segment. Then, what other data do you have? What's the lead time for a segment? What conversion do you get? What channels do they book on? How often do they cancel? You need to analyze this to understand which segments will provide most profit to you and which ones you should focus on from now into the future. There may also be, and this is a trend that we have seen very recently in some destinations more than others, alternative segments might appear. So you should be aware of this. You should be able to take advantage of this. There might be stranded tourists who need full board. There might be people who are self-isolating and don't want to stay in their home. There could be doctors, NGOs, home workers. I've seen quite a lot of hotels, particularly in Northern Europe, where they're offering spaces for people who can't work in their office but don't want to work in their house. This is a new segment that has appeared in the last month, really. You need to take advantage of this. You need to be able to see them. You need to make sure you have fields in your PMS to identify them, because this will help you with your analysis. And these segments will disappear and some others will replace them, but you need to be on top of it. This is very important. And decide how you want to reach these people. And very important, make sure that your staff are trained. Rita mentioned that there's a lot of data available in your PMS, and this data needs to be actionable and usable and clean. And one of the ways that the data is clean is if the people putting the data into your system do it the way that you want. So train people, make sure they know how to use the systems, which fields of data they need to put into the system, and how to identify segments correctly. So this is key in terms of recovering as soon as possible. And don't forget corporate clients. Normally, in the previous crises that we've had over the last 20 years or so, the corporate customers have been amongst the first segments to recover and start traveling again. Again here, don't just lower your rates, particularly in the corporate segment. Lowering the rates doesn't necessarily attract demand. Customers are traveling because they have to. Obviously, companies will probably have less budget for travel than before, so they may want to negotiate the rates. I would suggest that if you do this with an end point, with a final date. Say, I can reduce your rates for some amount of time to help you because I'm a partner, but there should also be an end date for this. And I would say, don't do this for more than 6 months. When you're negotiating with this segment, you need to really emphasize the safety protocols that you have in your hotel. Particularly clients from North America are very sensitive to this. And rather than simply negotiating with your price, you can negotiate with different values that you're adding to the customer as a hotelier. And keep really close contact with your customers. Understand what's going on, how their business is going, what their travel plans are, and make adjustments according to this. You could also even consider just extending this year's rates. You remove a whole process, time-consuming with resources of negotiation, and this could be an option with some clients, depending on what kind of business they have. So this is something that you should definitely think about. Those hotels which have a high percentage of corporate customers. And here, during this crisis, I have found a lot of useful resources for data. And this is data which is not available already internally in your hotel. So it's not data from your PMS or from any other tools that you may buy, such as rate shoppers or online reputation management. This is data about what's going on in the marketplace. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but these all provide interesting information about what's happening in the market. A lot of them are showing you what's happening in the Asian market, which could give some indication about what's happening here. I think we're going to share this presentation with you afterwards. So if you want to look at these sites, this is really going to help you in your decision making in the short and mid-term. And that's all. I'm going to pass over to Felipe, and he's going to talk about things you should consider for the future.
Hi there. Thank you, Nabil. Thank you very much. So basically, we have been talking about tips, guidelines for actions, as well as you can find all the data that you need introduced by Rita and Nabil. But one of the facts that is quite relevant is that most of the hotels don't even use half of the system's functionalities they have access to. So this is really important to think about it now. So there are things that you should consider, obviously. Take some time to clean your data and avoid data duplication. And this is important because you will need this to ensure the correct guest engagement. So all the connections with the CRM surveys, engagement with your clients, they actually feed on the data that people put on the PMS or any other system, okay? So it's really important that you review this information to make sure that you get to them. Take advantage also to review the system configurations and data's integrations, as Nabil was explaining, rates, market segments, sources, all these things that you should have a look, not only for the new ones that are coming, but probably you never touch it from the moment you implement it. And it's really important to get straight information out of it. It's vital to act on the source, and the centerpiece of your hotel is the PMS. So in order to to make sure that these changes on the configurations reflect not only on the operations, but also to any connections that your systems might have. An important question that you should do to yourself is, have you reviewed best practice at the hotel? So in order to accomplish with the new rules, new procedures, and to fulfill with constant government and non-governmental recommendations, you should take a look at this. One of the key important things that our hotels normally they do is having their SOAP, so their standard operation procedures. So probably this is the time to take a real look on it and have standardized metrics. This will help you to improve your client's attention in a more ordered and structured way, but also it's important that your team knows exactly what to do in each scenario that you projected. So be prepared. Also allows to quicker and easily retrain staff later. We all know that hospitality business has lots of rotativity of personnel. So it's important because if you have clear documentation made on your procedures, having new people on board and retraining them, it will be much easier. Another tip or another guideline would be invest in contactless solutions, as they will help you to track more guest data, apart from obviously ensuring the social distance, and adding at the same time value to the client's attention. Okay. Know your guests better helps you to take informed decisions. Remember always this: be flexible and get ready to adapt to new experience. We are all going through a period, nobody knows exactly what to do, so this will be a learning process. There are improvements, adaptations that you'll need to undertake out of your experience and learning process. So it's really important that you be aware on all the things that you do and how they will make an effect on your business. So basically, this is the things that you should do. There's lots. I don't want to be specific. Rita already told you some things. Nabil went deeper into some challenges to you guys. And here is the things that you might consider on taking a look on your PMS, okay?
Well, we are going to see some top tips. Rita?
Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Felipe. Right back this webinar, I would like to focus on two important things: communication and marketing. Let's look at the importance of domestic travelers at this moment. Create loyal guests because they don't have the same value, and look at the preferences, behaviors, and all the information that you have in your PMS, in your BI tool, and try to make the right options to understand what you can share with them. Think about meetings and events if you have business hotels that can be available for local companies at this moment. This can be another opportunity to make business. Focus on guest experience, on guest loyalty, on guest consumptions and behaviors. Try to give something that has value to your guests. Regarding marketing, it's very important to establish a direct communication with your clients or potential clients that you have already in your database. Respecting all the RGPD rules, of course, we can have promotional dedicated packages to families, for example, even for this situation of coronavirus, and to have long-term stays, for example. We can find another way to give offers that can give the safety and the flexibility that the guests are looking for. Regarding operation and strategy, let's focus. What is important right now? Safety, cleanliness, the contingent plans for hotels, the communication, what we are doing now about this. It's important to put these messages on your websites, on your social media, in order to send the message for everyone that is searching for something, for information, and for a destination, that we have this competitive factor. Regarding touchless strategies, this is on the top of the line. We must have solutions for pre-check-in, checkout, and contactless payments in order to promote less contact with people, with the front desk, and make this easier for everyone. Quick COVID tests can be done, for example, at the hotel. This will be something that can be offered to the guests that might tranquilize and give him some safety and security. Different layout from bars and restaurants, and also provide digital experience to have, for example, an application of your hotel, of your F&B, where we can find all the information that we must have, but digital, to avoid contact, but to give the guest the best experience. I think this is the huge point. We need to find new ways to lead the future and to deal with this coronavirus, because he's here. We will need to continue our lives, and we have family, we need destinations, and we need to have vacations. Focus inside of you, inside of what you have to offer, and promote this directly for the correct segmentation with packages and directly communications. And think about, what do you have today in your hands? Do you have a gold mine in your hands? Do you have a PMS that is all integrated with your solutions? Do you have already a BI tool? What can a BI tool gives to you more quickly about data and visual data and all the information for marketing and commercial teams? Revenue management. This is it. We need to look at this issue. Neville is the specialist, and I give you my word.
Okay, I've mentioned some of this already. It's very tempting to dump your prices. You need to think about this before you consider that. There's other ways you can do things. I would also suggest that you take the time to review your competitive set. Are all your competitors open? Are they price dumping? In which case you might want to avoid comparing yourself with them in metrics. You should adapt your products to each market segment. So which segments do you see coming back first, and what do they need? And what they need might not be the same as in the past. There's been a lot of talk about local, national travel coming back first, people who can travel in private transport. What do they need? Probably the lead time of reservations is going to be shorter. People are probably going to take decisions on a more improvisational way, closer to the date that they want to travel. The length of stay in your hotel might get shorter, so you need to adapt your products to reach these people. Flexible cancellation policies, this has been mentioned a lot. You don't want to put any barriers to people making reservations, particularly if your hotel is not going to be full. Keep on top of the demand. You need to really keep on top every day of what's going on. At the moment, there's not much movement, but it's going to start coming, and you need to identify it straight away. Use new sources of data about what's going on in the market. If you have some of the places I mentioned before, you can find information. Particularly airline data is normally an indicator of hotel occupancy, and Google search data in terms of what are people searching for in Google gives some indication of when and where demand might be coming back. And something that you should also think about is ancillary revenues. it's possible that people will be more likely to stay in their hotel and less likely to go out, at least in the initial period, because people are still going to be a bit concerned about mixing with the public. So this may give you an opportunity in your hotel to sell more to in-house guests. You can either package this, or you can look at ways to sell your room service, or do upselling and cross-selling within your property, which can help you to increase revenues which don't come purely from accommodation. So these are all things that you can think about when you're planning how to capture this demand that's starting to come back.
Okay, thank you all for your presentation. Now we are going to have a moment of Q&A. But before, I have some questions to do to each one of you. To everyone that is attending, please leave your questions on the Q&A option that you have at the bottom of your screen. We are pleased to answer them. And I have some questions. Just let me see why this is happening. Okay. Just 1 second. I'm really sorry about this. And this is open too many documents from me. Okay, you're no longer seeing my screen, I think.
That's how a webinar should look like. It's live.
I'm having a few problems here. So the first question that we have is, and it's for you, Rita, is how do you see the future of the hotel business after COVID-19? What do you think that will change?
Well, I think all this coronavirus contagiations curve now invite us to moderate optimism and reflection also. We won't find a way to get things how they were, but I think we will find a way to make it better for everyone. And that is the point. I am very optimistic, and I would like to transfer my energy for the ones that are thinking about this daily and taking care of the future. I think we will have a return to a new normality because things won't be like they were. And we should create new formulas to help to seduce tourism, national tourism and national tourists. Domestic guests, like we were talking about, will be probably a very important segment. But don't forget all the rest, because they are all very important. All the sanitary conditions in this moment, contingent plans and so on, this information is very important. So we need to put them visible, and we will need to adapt and also to concentrate ourselves in what is important, relevant, to promote the best guest experience, security and safety. The rest, hoteliers know how to do it, because we need to receive well, to connect the client, to know our client, what he likes to do, what he can do in our hotels, what he can offer them different, because they will spend more time with us. So we need to share this information to make this adventure an experience, a real experience, okay? Know the client is more important than ever. That's why a CRM in this moment is a very important tool. We have a CRM in Newhotel, and all the information that is stored there gives us a lot of data that we can use in order to achieve our goals. So, an efficient market segmentation and in-depth client profiling requires a sophisticated PMS database. And we need to adequate technological tools to explore this data. Check yourselves if you have the right tools at this moment, because if you don't have, this is a moment to contact with suppliers, technological suppliers, to achieve what you need. Hotels in this moment should really drive their direct bookings, as I said. Use the data to create personalized experience and tailor-made offers. This information identifies trends that can and might be very helpful in the definition of revenue and distribution strategy. And we need just to adjust and building. Guest preferences, I think this will be the focus. Shape your marketing and distribution strategy, and you will achieve promotional emails, social campaigns, and have a positive impact on your conversion rate, setting revenue.
Okay, great. And Neville, what activities should hotels be thinking about in the short, medium, and long term?
I mean, a lot of this I've mentioned already, but hotels really need to, in the short term, the objective is really to capture the little demand which we still have available. And in order to do that, you have to recognize when this is going to come from and where it's going to come from. So you have to be very attentive to the pickup data per segment that you're receiving from your systems and adjust your pricing accordingly. You have to be very careful about how much capacity there is in your destination versus how much demand. And if you can understand where people are coming from, so from what destinations people are booking for your property, then that would be the main focus in the short term. Midterm, really, I think it is having a clear strategy and making sure that this strategy is reflected across all of your systems. And Rita mentioned this as well, but technology for hotels is merely a tool to enable you to execute your hotel strategy. So for the medium and long term, you have to think about what your strategy is. What is the best for my business? What is going to give me the best profitability in the long term? And then you need to decide, what do I need in order to achieve this? And once you've decided that, you then have to look and see what technology is available to me to help me to meet this end. So technology is simply an enabler of the strategy. Strategy comes first. And I think this is a perfect moment for hotels to take stock, take a step back, review their business, review what they need, and then put in place the activities to meet that strategy in the future. This is, in some respects, this is I mean, there's nothing good coming out of this crisis, but it does give us an opportunity to do something we've never done before, which is stop and think, and then decide what things I was doing before that I don't want to do anymore, and what things should I have been doing already and I wasn't doing, and I'm going to start doing. And that's really the mid and long-term part. The short-term part is simply to keep on top of whatever demand you have and try and get as much income as you can until demand really starts coming back.
Okay, thank you, Neville. It's time for a reflection that we all need to do. Philippe, how can hotel technology providers help at this time?
Okay, so, well, hotel providers, well, we are here to help you in any time. Basically, this is another challenge for us, but as a providers, and I can speak for what I know inside Newhotel things, we are already used to face challenges, okay, for the last decades. Hospitality is a growing business and evolutionates too much. So we had to, on a daily basis, to adapt ourselves and adapt our tools to help us, hospitality business to grow and to control and manage their process. Basically, the world was already going towards contactless solutions evolution. We were already seeing many things coming up. I think this crisis, what it did is enable and pushed us going faster towards this path, this way. And back on your hotel is the perspective that I can share with you guys. While we took actions all these months, and we prepared our online check-ins, housekeeping tools, and stuff like this. So these are the tools that might help them to manage their business. But like Neville said, this is also a time to think and for reflection. And one of the things regarding what he said, Neville, it makes me remember was some of the clients that we have. They called us back during this time because now they had the opportunity to make that configuration that they could not before, to implement that heavy module or whatever, you know, that oh, there's never time for that because high occupancy, high this, high that. So so it's also time for that, those things, because those small things or those big things, it will help you. And don't worry, because the technology providers, we must understand, we must always react. So we can give a help, but part of this is based on the reflection and the things that hotels want to do.
Okay, thank you. Neville, I have one question for you, another one. What should hotels look for in their technology?
Flexibility, the ability to adapt quickly, and the opportunity or the availability of maximum amount of data possible, and a reporting functionality which allows you to manage this data. It's all very well having lots and lots of data, but you actually need technology to process this data and to provide it to you in a way that you can use it to make decisions. So you need to make sure that that's the case. If you talk about what we do in Beonprice, which is a revenue management system, I would suggest that you look for an RMS which uses advanced machine in its algorithms. Machine learning is a branch of computing whereby an algorithm can adapt and train itself according to the data it receives. So this is the most cutting edge part of technology in terms of algorithms. And if you're looking for this kind of technology, then you should really go for something like that. Everything else is quite out of date these days.
I think regarding this issue, Neville has a great offer for our participants today, because Beonprice will be offering certification online on revenue management. It's not the product of Beonprice, but is an online certification for these issues of revenue. Because if you are not very aware of this, you can be, if you do this job online by yourself, to understand a little bit of this information, of the relevance of these topics to go further. Okay, so I think it's a good opportunity to everyone to make this, because it's an offer of Beonprice, and it is an opportunity for everyone to make some progresses regarding this issue. That is something that most of us cannot develop a lot, this machine learning and in artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, we thanks, Rita. Another thing I didn't mention when you talk about looking for technology, I would suggest, and I have been a client for most of my life, I've only been on the other side for a couple of years. However good the technology that you are being sold is, you need to look at the people who are selling it to you. And you need to think that they're going to be partners, and that they're going to help you, and that they're going to accompany you in your journey and adapt to your needs. And that's why in Beonprice we have an online training platform, because we think it is useful for people to have a revenue management culture in their business. And that's not technology. We do sell technology, and you understand our technology better if you know about revenue management. So, you know, we get some benefit out of it. But I really think that all your tech partners should offer you human support and help as well. If not, then you could have the best technology in the world, but if you don't know how to use it and you don't get enough help with this, then it's not going to do what you want.
Well, I'm sure that everyone is waiting for the $1 million question, which is when will all this end, when everything is going back to normal. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball. So this leads us to another question, what gives us hope that hospitality industry will overcome this situation? And we have some considerations from all that we have been talking here. And the first one is the need to travel. If we want to start traveling again, we have been quarantined for too long. We are tired. We want to go back to our normal lives. We need to relax and to have our leisure moments. So people need, they have this need, and the hotels are here to provide for them and to welcome them. So I'm sure that in the few weeks or a few months, we will be able to feel that reservations are coming again. The second thing is the experience that hospitality has from previous crises. This is not the first time that hospitality is going through a global crisis. In 2017, 2007, 2009 crisis, I believe most hoteliers learn a lot about how to respond to extreme difficult situations. And they have learned what works and what doesn't. And as Neville told us before, the answer is not cutting prices, because price is what hotels can control. Usually, hoteliers tend to bet on the highest occupancy levels that they can achieve, but it's time to protect prices. It will be much easier for hotels to rebuild their way to profitability again. The third point is building trust. And for this one, you need sales, and you need that sales and marketing teams, they need to work together. And usually these departments are fighting their own corner. But now it's time to sit with them and putting them working closely for the same goal. A quick search online will show us a lot of hotels communicating their new policies regarding new procedures, their sanitization measures, and at the same time, they are communicating their offers and letting people know why it's safe to come to their hotel and what is the best offer available. So the goal here is to build trust. And trust needs to be well communicated in order to let people feel more comfortable and to choose and book your hotel. For another side, and Rita already told us, sales and marketing need to work together to maintain a loyal guests and to work on strategies to connecting with your future guests, and this all will make you gain market share. And finally, we are all listening about domestic markets. That will be the first one to travel. So you need to look at your marketing budget. And I know for most of us it's tight, but we need to look at it. And instead of investing in campaigns for international markets, we need maybe to relocate this budget to invest in the local market first, and then as soon as demand comes as usual, we can look to the international market. So guys, I want to ask you to leave your questions on the Q&A. I see that we have a few questions here, and I will start with this one for Philippe. Should the hotel prepare a document with sanitary recommendations for guests during their stay, or this would make them unsafe? This question is from Celia. Philippe?
Thank Very much, Celia. Well, it's always, I think, in my opinion, it's always good to update any sanitary recommendation that you might have for the guests, especially for this time. And you should definitely put something there. But also, it's really important to communicate back to the clients when they are booking or when they are deciding to book or not. What did you did for them? So what things, what actions you took inside the hotel? Things are clean, all the preventions that you have. This is what everybody was saying here. So it's the trust. Families or people that are still considering going for vacations, when they are going to decide, price will not be the most important factor, but trust. They will take their families to places that offer more trust, more safety rules, or things that hotel can do for them. There are some statistics around this Spanish market. Hotel launched a few weeks ago some statistics about what clients, Spanish clients in this case, were looking after.
Okay, thank you, Philippe. Another question from Creedon, and Neville, I think you can answer this one, is regarding corporate rates. How do you think a market like the Portuguese that is used to always have a breakfast included, should we start negotiating room only?
That's a very good question. There is an issue here around cost as well. The question is, it's probably going to cost hotels more to serve breakfast right now, because it seems likely that breakfast buffets are not going to be permitted, at least at the beginning, which means you're going to have to serve everyone breakfast individually, which is going to be more expensive. So if you're offering bed and breakfast rates to your corporate clients, it actually might mean that your ADR for this segment goes down because your costs are up and the amount of money you're allocating to the breakfast goes up. So if you could sell room only rates and then offer a price for breakfast separately, I think this would help you to protect your rates. I used to work in a hotel chain. We had a lot of hotels in Italy, and in Italy it's also normal to sell rates as bed and breakfast. And we made some attempts to sell the two elements separately. There was no crisis at the time. It was just a test. And we found that this really depended on the customer. Some customers were keen on this, and some customers really didn't want to at all. So I think you have to view it on a case-by-case basis, bearing in mind that if you're offering a bed and breakfast rate and your breakfast cost is going up, then you could potentially be having an impact on your ADR. So it's a tough question. I think if the customers are coming from outside of Portugal, it would be easier, this negotiation. But I think you have to view it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Celia Reis asks us if hotels should provide a contingency plan. Well, I think we all agree on that. Philippe?
Basically here, yes, it's always good, the hotel, like I said before, to have something to back up procedures and stuff, so clients, it's visible for them to what to do, like a fire. If a fire happens, they should know where to go. But more important is to inform people before, to have this on your direct bookings on your webpage, what you did to overcome the situation.
Okay, and we have another question from well, Creedon asked another question. He says, but with spa and other services closed, we will lose a key point for revenue. Don't the clients prefer the security of our service instead of the local cafe?
I mean, yes, but you could sell them a room-only rate and negotiate a breakfast price separately, rather than selling a package rate as bed and breakfast. And in fact, I mentioned this earlier, I do think there's an opportunity for ancillary revenues or for more F&B revenues in hotels, because some customers won't be very keen to go out. And in that case, if you don't offer the packaged bed and breakfast rate, but you offer a room only rate and agree a price for breakfast, you might extract more revenue than you would packaging it together.
Okay, thank you, Neville. And Paulo asks, should the hotel send to the client by email the safety regulations that are in place, even if the hotel has them on the website? Rita, do you want to answer to this one?
Hi, Paulo. How are you? This question is very important. Of course, have this information on your website, very clear on the banners, on the principal top tips of your customer care regarding these sanitary measures. It is very important. But I think if you do like a marketing email, and if you are worried with this issue, I think it will be very relevant to put this information on your email marketing, and also to send a package with your offer. Even if there is a full board or room only or bed and breakfast, no matters. But if you have a few services that you can provide, respecting all the DGS rules and all the sanitary measures, of course, regarding, for example, sports, individual sports, like tennis, for example, or paddle or something, or even if you have a package of spa treatments and so on, you can give them individually on the room service and not on the spa that is closed in this moment, for example. And to provide packages for families, that is very important, because I think long stay will be the point. People won't go for 3 days for an hotel. They will probably spend 1 week and they will stay inside to take of enough for every opportunities that you can offer. So I think it's important to pass this information and to do some special offers that put all this together. And this will be an extra value for a customer. I can give you an example. For example, today I shared on social media a client in Portugal market that reopens, and it's a small boutique hotel, and they are open only for 5 families, okay, and they will open for the loyalty customers at first, and they invite them to come to spend a few days to relax safety in the middle of the nature. And that was a very good idea, because in a few minutes, I think they achieve their goals, and they have the answer that they will have clients with them. So that's a good idea.
I just would like to add that by sending your safety regulations by email or putting them on your website, Paulo, I think it's one of the most important steps to build a trust relation with your clients and letting them know in advance what you are doing, okay? And people will look for this. So what better place than on your reservation email to have a part where you can describe what you are going to do and alert them, and on your website, of course. Another question that we have here, it's from Creedon again. So for those who work with our RMS, how will you feed the algorithm? Last month's data isn't useful. Will you just disregard it?
Okay. This is a fabulous question.
It's a fair question, Neville.
Sorry, I won't speak after that. This is a very interesting subject, and this subject has been discussed a lot in the last few weeks. Most revenue management systems use different sets of data to make their forecast. And one of the pieces of data that most revenue management systems use is your historical data. Right now, your historical data is more or less useless. And next year, when you're forecasting, you won't be able to look at this year to give you any indication of what's going on. So a lot of people are using this to say that revenue management systems are no longer useful. That would be true unless the revenue management systems were trying to do something about it. And all RMS providers are working on this. What we're working on, there's several things we're working on. We're working on, in the short term, a reconfiguration of the system. So this is something a customer can do, but you have to change some parameters within the solution to change the forecasting. We're also working on the option of allowing you to manually override the forecast because you may have access to data which is not being fed into the algorithm, and you can manually override the forecast so that the recommendations make sense, and the algorithm will learn from this. We're also going to start, and this is what Credan mentioned, we're going to offer the option of isolating data in order that the algorithm doesn't take it into account because it's not useful. And in that case, you have to make sure that you have enough other sources of data to still forecast. So in our case, we look at the market, we look at the recent trends, we look at your quality versus your price, and we're also working on feeding new data sources into the algorithm. So things like airline data, Google searches, and things like that. We have a project already up and running to feed this data so that you can actually see a forecast for your destination and not just for your hotel. So it's tough, yeah. We have a lot of headaches for sure. Most RMSs, I told you what we're doing, but most RMSs are working on this as well. You just need to reduce the influence of the historical data in your forecasting algorithm and increase the data you're getting from other sources, and allow some manual input, even though our techie people don't like it, but allow the revenue manager of a hotel to manually override in some situations.
Okay, thank you all. We are already here more than 1 hour, and we are pleased to answer all your questions. But I would like to invite everyone that still have questions and to send them to academy@newhotel.com. We are pleased to answer them. If you have any doubt, anything that you want to question, just use the email. And thank you so much, Neville, to join us today to discuss these important questions and worries that we all have, and suggestions that we can take in consideration to implement in our hotels. From Newhotel side, I would like to thank you all, and I hope to see everyone in the next webinar.
Thank you, Neville. Thank you,
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
And if you have some questions, please email us directly to Academy. We will have a team of consultants that will follow everything, and you will receive an email at the end of this webinar with the special offer. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.